Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Debate and Diplomacy in History. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights shows debate and diplomacy by creating rights for all human beings, forming equality for all, and forming a crucial law of freedom to become a global collection of rights protecting every individual everywhere. What was the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is an international document adopted by the United Nations General Assembly that ensures the rights and freedoms of all human beings. The United Nations is an intergovernmental organization aiming to maintain international peace and security, develop friendly relations among nations, achieve international cooperation, and be centered for harmonizing the action of nations. It is the world's largest and most familiar international organization. United Nations was created to save succeeding generations from the suffrage of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought us untold sorrow to mankind. The United Nations was officially constructed on December 10, 1948 in Paris. Originally involving 50 countries, the United Nations stands by four main pillars: peace and security, human rights, the rule of laws, and development. These four pillars are all interconnected. You can't fully achieve one without achieving all of them. Today, peace and security are no longer viewed only in terms of the absence of military conflict. The common interests of all people are also seen to be affected by poverty, hunger, and the transition from war to peace. Once fighting has ended, countries often require assistance rebuilding state institutes responsible for maintaining law and order, environmental degradation, weak democratic institutes, and human rights violations, which are often at the heart of national and international tensions. Peace building refers to the efforts to assist countries and religions that have been torn apart by war. At the heart of peace building is an attempt to build a new state that will have the capacity to manage disputes peacefully, protect its citizens, and ensure respect for human rights. The United Nations was established in the aftermath of a terrible war to ensure that relations among nations would be grounded in international law. Rule of law is one of the core concepts at heart of the organization's work and mission to accomplish human rights. The strong link between human rights and development has figured prominently in the United Nations deliberations for more than half a century. In 1986, the right to development was made explicit in the Declaration on the Right to Development. The Declaration on the Right to Development states, "The right to development is an inalienable human right by the virtue of which human persons and all people are entitled to participate and contribute to enjoy economical, social, cultural, and political development." Human rights, the last law of the United Nations. Human rights stands as just as it says. It means that everybody is equal and everybody deserves rights, no matter the skin color, the body type, the texture, or what they look like. Everybody is unique and deserves the right freedom of speech, and everybody will become equal. The United Nations stands by a quote, and quote, "We are the people of the United Nations determined to save succeeding generations from the suffrage of war, which twice in our lifetimes have brought untold sorrow to mankind, and to reframe faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men and women and of nations large and small, and to establish conditions under which justice, respect for obligations arising from treaties and other sources of international law can be maintained, and to promise social progression and better standards of life and large freedom." And I quote. Many countries have left the United Nations, and as the time I am recording this, still is not included in the United Nations. Some of the following countries left the United Nations: Ireland, Finland, Baker's Island, US, Christmas Island, Australia, Coral Sea Island, Australia, and Easter Island, Chile. Although many countries still have left the UDHR and the United Nations, Many countries see the UDHR as an opportunity and have decided to join over the years. The UDHR includes 195 countries as of 2022 and major world superpowers like America, Japan, Britain, and China. When the UDHR was first introduced, many people hated and disliked it because they thought it was subject to criticism due to its supposed isolation and rhetoric, reflecting strong Western influences. People did not believe that Western influences be involved in a declaration because Western influence included things like slavery and the mistreatment of human beings. Debate still took place over the complications of countries leaving the UN and UDHR. Some countries felt the UN and UDHR had a perceived lack of efficiency. They argued that even with the declaration still lingered a complete lack of focus in both preempt measures and de-escalation of existing conflicts, which they had believed had ranged from social disputes to full-fledged wars. The opposers still had a most basic problem. As noted earlier, that in itself the UDHR includes no clear process of implementation. The people who still saw the UDHR as unnecessary concluded that all united declarations, including the UDHR, are aspirational. They embody ideas and goals, but in themselves they provide no concrete framework for actually achieving them. The UDHR contain no means by which to monitor progress or provide support for implementation or the aspirations laid out therein for the people. The people who wanted the UDHR argued that the declaration would include rights and freedoms of individuals that would furthermore be set for the future. The UDHR would represent the first international recognition that human rights and fundamental freedoms are applicable to every person everywhere. They thought it would continue to affect people's lives, serve as a model for numerous international treaties and declarations, and be incorporated into many country laws. They believed the declaration would inspire more international human instruments which together constitute a comprehensive system of legally binding treaties for the promotion and protection of human rights. Eventually, the debate ended in the side wanting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, winning with the leading point that all humans would be identified with freedom, equality, and rights. Proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly in Paris on December 10, 1948, the UDHR was officially signed. Members of the Commission who contributed significantly to this creation of the Declaration included Canadian John Peters Humphrey of the United Nations Secretary, Eleanor Roosevelt of the United States, who chaired the drafting committee, Rene Cassin of France, Charles Malik of Lebanon, P.C. Chang of Republic of China, and Hassa Jaraya Mehta of India. In conclusion, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights allows humans to be recognized and to achieve international peace and stability. Intentions with the UDHR are to avoid discrimination in general and aim to improve equality. The UDHR sets a standard on how everyone should be equal. If a government ever is accused of human rights violation, there is a procedure now where it can be judged. It allows emphasis on the rights of citizens to fully participate in their government and the modernization of their country. Lastly, the UDHR is the framework for developing international human rights, and it will forever be known as the most cited human rights document in the world.